All right, so we're gonna go ahead and make a mods folder. There's a couple different ways you could do this. You could use the Igor application, or you could create it by going through the File Explorer and creating a mods folder in the mods folder. It's kind of so we'll play with the Igor version first. Yeah, a lot of people will end up using this one. There's nothing wrong with that, but you see, Igor is the mission editor and kit editor and all kinds of other fun stuff. Certainly can use this to do all kinds of modification stuff. But you'll see there's a little place called mods here under file. Click that, and you see we have MP1's Desert Siege, MP2's Island Thunder. We can click new. It'll ask you where you want to place it. We're going to place it in the same place, but we're just going to name this one GR1 mod. That's so we know what we're working on. This goes with the YouTube channel, etc. You can create that like so. Now you can see Desert Siege, Island Thunder, and GR1 mod. I'm going to turn this on as default mod for the editor. And we are going to change the author to GR1 mod, I guess. And version 1. You can make it whatever version you want. Version you want. And also add in, or URL of where you might be creating something. So in this case, we're going to rename it GR1 mod version 1, and we'll put ghostrecon.net as the URL just because it's still pretty active as a community. So click update, close and refresh. And what ends up happening, if it worked, it should be automatically loaded now in Igor here. So you can actually, if you're creating missions or whatever, it should create them in your mods folder. If we take a look in the mods folder here, you'll see we had created GR1 mod, and it comes in with a bunch of folders that are kind of pre-created. So it's an interesting way to work because it does create a lot of stuff for you. But depending on what you're doing, you might not want that many folders. You might be just creating weapons. You might not need all the extra folders. You can see here we got the mods content.txt document, which is more or less what we were editing: the name, the author, the support, and the version. And that's it for setting up the mods folder. I think that's the easiest way. You could manually do this and create a folder, say this is some mod, and then you might need to place some mods content in there. So you copy that and just paste it in there. But you're going to modify it. So we'll just call this one some mod. We'll leave the author the same, GR1 mod. And save it. And now technically this is a mods folder as well. There's no, I might rename it though. So now it'll work like so. I'm going to launch up GR here before I get started in that. I want to check options. Ask me later. I want to make sure that it's not going to turn full screen. That's all. So full screen is false. So now if I launch GR, the only reason I wanted to check that is because when I'm recording, if it launches into full screen, it'll become a little square over here in the corner. Kind of like it's doing right now. But let's turn that volume down. So now what we end up with is we go to options, mods. You'll see we have Desert Siege, Island Thunder, some mod, and GR1 mod. We're going to activate GR1 mod, increase the priority, click accept, and that should be good. We're going to delete the some mod, but just to prove that it worked. So now we have GR1 mod. If we load up Igor again, it should automatically load the mod with it. So, and there you go. Yep, just double check and make sure everything's working. Now if we restart Ghost Recon, it should automatically be activated. And that's good because we want it all set up so that when we're working on it, we can just launch GR and come in and check things. And that'll do it for setting up your mods folder. Now, whenever you're creating things for GR, you're going to be placing your files in the mod folder. Your working files, as you can see right here, I got my Ghost Recon folder and I got a models folder. I might rename this later, just call it modeling or modding or something. But I want to make sure all of my stuff is in here, so all my raw editing files don't get attached to the mod folder, because the mod folder is what I'm going to pack up and eventually distribute, not all this other stuff, which is going to be like the 3D Studio Max files or the Blender files or whatever the case may be. So your average player doesn't need access to the 3D Studio files and all that. So that's just added weight to the mod that isn't required. So work in 2 folders if you can, and that way you don't have to clean up your mods folder later on and be like, well, what do I need and what do I not need, and start deleting things and accidentally delete something that's important. So work in that manner. I think you'll find that it's more useful to do that than not doing it. I'm going to actually rename this modding right now. Just going to name it modding. You can name it whatever and organize it however you want. But you see the stair files, so we got all these different files. Oh, one thing, if you were following along with the weapons tutorial, I actually created a 3D model for the rails for the texturing, which I don't know if I even saved them, but yeah, I did. So sometimes you can make 3D models to create textures. So I needed to make rails, so I made some high detailed rails and used that as part of the texture for the model. So what ended up happening was all that is that I converted it into this here. So yeah, that's how that worked. Anyways, a little extra there at the end. Sorry about that, but let's go ahead and get into modding GR now. All right.